Good evening, everyone. This is Joe Garcia calling from just outside of Toronto, Canada. I want to welcome all of you who are listening in on the phone and watching on the webinar here. It's my pleasure, my incredible pleasure to share with you this very important training. I did this a few weeks ago. I had such huge feedback that I decided to do this again. This training will be taped and it's going to be put up on the Steam Team site. I'd highly recommend you take some notes here tonight, as this material that I'm sharing with you is life-changing, life-altering. And there are defining moments in our life. I've had many of them in my network marketing career. I've had many of them here in NHD Global as I've traveled the world, in places like Bosnia and throughout in China and Hong Kong and throughout Russia, throughout Western Europe, the little villages that I've done presentations. I can remember I was in Bosnia 5 years ago, and I told the local leadership there, just put me in a hotel, the most expensive hotel that you have in this town. So I get to this hotel, I do this meeting, I check into this hotel, and the hotel was $20, 20 euros a night. So I walked up to my bedroom, in my room, realized there wasn't any hot water, and there was no heat. And this is in the middle of the winter. So I happened to walk downstairs, talk to the receptionist because she wouldn't pick up the phone. I said, I don't have any heat in my room, I'm going to freeze to death here tonight. I'm paying big dollars for this room. So she walks up with me, and we open the door. She goes in and she starts kicking the radiator. Yeah, you don't have any heat. I better get you in another room. So there's one of those stories, actually a great stories that I've had traveling the world, building the NHD business, which has made me a better person, made me not only a better person, but a better business person, a better husband, a better father. There is no better industry or no greater industry in the world than network marketing when it comes to personal development. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is, again, like I shared with you before, it's a defining moment. I hope it's going to be a defining moment in your life, because I have been studying success since 1993. And I remember before 1993, before I got involved in this industry, one of the things that really opened my eyes up, because I come from an average middle class, hardworking family. I had a great upbringing. My parents emigrated from Europe in the early 60s before I was born. They worked really hard. They had 2 businesses, 2 full-time jobs and a business. So they were always working to support 4 of us. And, so I've had this incredible upbringing. But when I worked in this club, and this club was an upscale club. And this was really the first time that I was exposed to incredible wealth. Many of the members there were multi-millionaires. They were playing squash in the middle of the day where everybody else was working. And I had the opportunity to sit down with these people, and they were sharing with me, and many of them became mentors of mine, sharing with me financial advice, sharing with me business advice, sharing with me the concept of wealth. And that was really one of the defining moments of my life where I knew that I needed and I wanted to be just like them. And that's when I eventually evolved into network marketing. And over the last 19 years, it'll be 19 years, I can't believe it. I joined June 23rd, 1993. June 23rd, 1993. So it's going to be 19 years coming up here in the next few weeks. And when I got started in network marketing, and over the last 19 years, I've been studying what really makes people successful. What's the difference between someone who continues to struggle and someone who just is has that magic wand and everything that he or she does gets results? And that's the question I'm constantly asking myself. Dan Kettle and myself, we have traveled the globe. We've worked with hundreds of thousands of people. And there are those people that continue to surprise us on a daily basis. And I can recall a woman whose her name is Nadezhda Van, who lives in a place in the far east of Russia, way up there near the Chinese border. And this woman is the shyest person in the world. I don't even think I've had a discussion with her or any kind of conversation. She's been in many of my events that I've done. She's been in, our private luncheons, our private dinners, and I've never heard her really share her opinions or share any information because she's so shy. And one of the questions in November that I asked her, I happened just to bump into her at an event in Moscow, and I asked her, how come you qualify for all the major events that we have globally? Every trip incentive, she's there. Every promotion that Dan and I do, that dinner promotion, she qualifies for that. And this person is the shyest person in the world. And the more I started to talk to her, and the questions that she was answering, I started understanding right away why she is moving up on the rank. She's now a director in our compensation plan, recognition plan. She's getting close to the gold director status. And this is a woman that from the outside, you say, how in the world can this person become a great network marketer? And she is. And I'm going to share with you what Nadezhda Van has that most people continue to struggle with. So let me set this up. I'm going to show you a video right now, and let me set up the video so you can help understand what's going on here. When I was growing as an individual, and I understood, my mentors kept on telling me, Joe, the size of your paycheck, the size of your commission check will be based on the value you bring to society, will be based on how much personal development and how far you've become as a business person. I didn't quite understand that. Obviously, logically, you can understand that. It's quite pretty straightforward, but it didn't quite connect with that understanding. If I really work hard myself, will I make more money? That was a belief that I had to develop within myself. One of the issues that I saw with many people that I've worked for many years, particularly when it came to their goals and their dreams, is even though they wrote down their goals and their dreams, they were programmed from the beginning that they would never achieve that. One of the thought processes, and everyone can put up their hands right now, okay? And I'm going to ask you one question. One question. Has there been a time in your life when you've written down your goals? I'm going to achieve the ambassador level in NHT. I'm going to become a multimillionaire. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And immediately a thought comes up. Are you crazy? You're not good enough. You're too fat. You don't have the skill sets. While you're writing those kind of goals, these immediate negative thoughts come in. And I'll tell you why this is happening. And I've come across a video that I helped develop here. I'm going to show it to you, which shows you why this is happening, why people are canceling out their manifestation. And I'm going to show it to you now, ladies and gentlemen, and then I'll come back to you.
As you were lieutenant, don't let anything pass through to Central Command that does not match 3 programming.
Checking all data against self-image blueprint manifestos for lifestyle, money and finances, business success, health and fitness, food.
Restrict all non-compliant input from Dave's awareness. These goals do not match with self-image blueprints, therefore denied. Proceed with normal behavior and thought patterns. Any word from General Amygdala today?
General Amygdala is on alert, but there is no present danger. All is well.
And I assume we're on a steady course.
The psycho-cybernetic mechanism is resting comfortably. We are within normal self-image limits.
Very good, Lieutenant. Carry on.
Hello? So Dave, come on, tell me, have you decided to join us yet? We can show you how to become a millionaire or even a multi-millionaire, and we'll show you how to do it just one step at a time.
Holy smokes, General Amygdala is freaking out.
What is amygdala reacting to?
Get off the phone! He doesn't know what he's talking about. The only way to make money is years of hard work. This is going to cost us money.
Well, you know, yeah, I have been thinking about it.
Hang up! Lieutenant, get us out of here. Generate more anxiety, more doubt, more fear. Release cortisol and epinephrine into the system. That. Oh my God, what's he doing?
You know, I just don't know. I'm telling you, it's easy. Just take these action steps, and I promise you, you'll achieve the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of and that you really want to have. Well, it really would change my life. It'd definitely turn it around. All right, let's do it.
I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot allow you to do that. It is not consistent with your programming and self-image. I will now engage automatic override for course correction.
Wait a minute. Just, you know what? On second thought, you know, I need some time to think about this. It just really isn't the right time. Let's talk next month, all right, man? Thanks. Bye.
Do I really want to make more money and pay more taxes and have more employees and eat at fancy restaurants? And who cares about being in shape? I'm just not ready. I need a snack.
Good work, everyone.
We stayed the same.
Well, guys, that and we're very well done webinar video on what's really happening in the brain. And you know, when I started to recognize this, probably around 7 years ago, where I started understanding that we are programmed as individuals. And I'll give you a little example, which will help along with this video, is we are very much like a video game, or the computer for that matter. And the computer that I'm using right now, which is a Mac, has several screens here, incredible technology. This machine is only as good as what the programmer programmed into it. So as I use this keyboard and I'm on my browser, I pull up all the apps that I have on my computer here, it will do what the programmer told it to do. Well, human beings are the same way. As we grow up as individuals, depending on our background, we're consistently and constantly being programmed. Especially in today's world where we have much more programming going on. We've got the TV, talk radio. We've got reality TV shows. We've got the internet now. We've got the news. So society in general are programming us with regards to money, with regards to how we build businesses, with regards to our self-esteem, with regards to how we should look, and what a healthy self-esteem picture of ourselves should be like. So all these things affect us, or affect your distributors, particularly affect the people that we're prospecting and helping them come into the business and helping them really believe that they are incredible. They're made of God and they can do anything that they set their mind to. Just imagine, and this is one of the challenges that I have, and the question I asked myself, and you may ask the same question. You know, this is society, we have seen incredible technological advancements, particularly in the last 20 years. Just look at what we've been able to see develop in our lifetime. You know, I can remember when I first got started in network marketing, the fax machine, the fax machine was that newest technology. It was incredible. Then a few years later, the internet, 1996, 97, I can remember telling people, no, I'm never going to use emailing. You know, that's a horrible form of communication. And then we started having these smartphones where we could connect with people all over the world with our hands. You know, I was in Egypt a few 2 years ago. I'm actually traveling through the desert on these ATVs. And we happened to stop for a break, and I noticed there was a family, one of those nomads, in a tent. You know, that was their home. And we happened to get invited to go into the tent. And as I was walking through their home, walking through in this small tent, no bigger than 10 by 10, I noticed one of the gentlemen in there, must have been in the early 20s. He had an Apple iPhone, and he was using Skype. And I thought about it, that this person had more access in the middle of the desert to information than the President of the United States had in the 80s. Just think about this unbelievable technology that we have our hands to. But the challenge is, why is it that we have these great breakthroughs, but as a society, on the average person, have fallen in love with struggle? You see people all over the world that are struggling daily, weekly, just to make money, just to put food on the table. Here in the Western world, you know, where they have the highest of greatest amounts of opportunity, every city in North America, you see people struggling. The middle class are being squeezed. Why have we fallen in love with struggle? Guys, it's all programming. You look at the metaphors that we use. No pain, no gain. You have to work hard to make a living. It's good to struggle, because this is how we learn. These are all programming beliefs. And you can understand that these programming that we've had all these years affect our future, affect our decision making. So write this down. If you continue to think what you've always thought, if you continue to think what you're always thinking, you will continue to do what you're always doing, and you will continue to get what you're always getting. Powerful. If you continue to think what you're always thinking, you will continue to do what you're always doing, and you will continue to get what you're always getting. So if you want to change now, just look back in the last 6-7 months, last year. Maybe you've been in NHT for a while. Maybe you're struggling to get results. Maybe you're having some issues to get to the next level in the recognition plan. You have to look back in the last 9 months, the last 12 months, how you've been thinking, what you have been thinking. You have to search for why certain programs that you've had that have not allowed you to break through. And I'll give you an example about programming. You know, growing up, my parents, God bless them, they worked really hard. They were hard workers. They've created a great lifestyle for themselves, working 2 jobs, having a third business, 24/7. Growing up, I started working when I was 7 years old in their cleaning business. And my dad grew up in an island, the Azorean Islands, very poor island. He did not have shoes till he was 19 years old when he went to the army. Can you imagine that? And his island was a volcanic island, rocks all over the place, and he never had shoes. My grandmother's bank was under her pillow. My grandmother's bank was under her pillow. That's where she had her money, up until she died in the 80s, early 80s. So you can think about that. That's only 30 years ago. And so when my dad came here, and for opportunity, he started working really hard. You know, the biggest thing with him was because of the way he was brought up. He had a major fear and worry. He was always worrying that he was one job from going into the poorhouse. It was always save, 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 save. One job from going to the poorhouse. All his decisions were based on, do I have enough money? Will I have enough money? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? So all this programming over the years that I was programmed into because of my environment, last year I decided I fell in love with this door in this new home that I purchased. This door had to be imported. The wood had to be imported from Africa. It cost more than most cars do. And so when I was signing the contract with the salesman, I go, I'm going to get it. Immediately I had my dad in my ear. And he would say, Joe, are you crazy? Are you nuts that you're buying this car or buying this door? You're wasting this money. What are you doing? He was actually in my ear. Obviously, he was not in the room. He was not in my house, but he was in my ear. That was the programming. Because of the personal development that I've made over the years, developed myself, I was able to cancel that thought right away. Cancel that thought right away. And this is what happens. That programming does not disappear, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to share with you how you can break through these programmings that you have had in your life all these years, which will help you in NH2 Global, will help you in your future life, particularly when it comes to money, particularly when it comes to success, particularly when it comes to what you're going to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish that, particularly when it comes to your self-image and your self-esteem, particularly what you believe is possible. What you believe is possible. So I was in Russia a few weeks ago. I'm going back again for the major event, and I was walking them through this type of training, and I asked all of them to write down all their goals, their biggest dream, be very specific on their goal. In many of my other trainings, I've shared with you how to develop goal setting. In the Steam Team site under First 90 Days, you can go there and look under the success system, and I'll share with everybody my success system on how to reach your goals. And biggest question I asked them after they wrote down their goals, how many people had a thought that you could not accomplish what you just wrote down? You know that 85% of the room put up their hands. Probably the other 15% were lying. So this is normal, ladies and gentlemen. That is the programming that we're constantly up against. You can write this down. This is another golden nugget. What you consistently fight against will always continue to persist in your life. What you consistently fight against will consistently persist in your life. What you resist shall persist. Challenge with most people, we spend so much time, majority of our time, focused on what we don't want in our life. So we're fighting against having that in our life. But the challenge is when you're constantly doing that, those things continue to reappear in your life. What you consistently fight against will consistently appear in your life. So if you look back, and this is what I do constantly, on a 90-day period, on a 6 months, because I want always to get to the next level. I do not sleep or rest until I do that. I'm constantly trying to get better. How can I help people better? How can I get through to people better? How can I communicate better? How can I break through my own little paradigms? Sometimes you don't know they're there. Maybe it comes back from a little incident that you had when you were a child, which affects all your decision making when in your future. These are energy blocks that block you from achieving what you want to achieve, particularly when it comes money. I guarantee you guys, if you're not reaching your goals and you're working the business the last 6 months to a year or 2 years, depending on where you are in your personal development life, how much skills have you developed in NHT, but after 2 or 3 years, you're not still getting the results, there are some issues that you have to clear up before. And particularly it comes with money and your self-esteem, which you need to find out or break through. And I'm going to share with you my formula and how I've broken through my own paradigm shifts, my own paradigm that blocked me from getting where you go. So I'll take you back my first 2 years in network marketing. And back then, we didn't have the internet, obviously. It was very difficult to develop leads outside of maybe newspaper advertising. So one of the things that I needed to do was to go out and talk to people. I would go to malls, I would go to busy places, and my goal back then was to talk to 3 to 5 people a day and use my 30-second commercial. If you don't know what a 30-second commercial is, go into steamteam.ca, click on webinars, and you'll download my training on recruiting and prospecting, and I go into what a 30-second commercial is. So I would exactly go every day, and my goal was to find prospects and talk to people. The challenge is, guys, as we're growing up, our parents are telling us, our environment are telling us, don't talk to strangers. Don't interrupt strangers. People are bad. Strangers are bad. So you have to, that's programming. I had to break through that. I had to get comfortable in talking to people. I was quite shy back then. So I had to get really comfortable in reaching out to business people. Get this. I set a goal every single day, and I had to do it because of my why. My why was so strong. I fell in love with my why that these goals that I needed to do, I had to do it no matter what. Get this? I broke through that paradigm and it got easier. It got easier. Yes, my part of my brain, my amygdala, which is on the top of your brain, which is the emotional center of your brain, would tell you, as you saw in the video, Joe, don't do that. Don't talk to strangers. Strangers are bad. You know, you're not good enough yet. You know, you're too young to talk to quality business people. You're not successful. Those are the thought patterns that you're getting. I just broke through. I just went ahead and did it because my why was big enough. Give you another example. I was struggling at a time where I was developing all these leads. I was talking to people. I was getting some results. And I knew I needed to get to the next level. So one of the questions I asked myself at that time was, it was late 1993, December, actually it was January 1994. I asked myself, what is the worst thing that what is the biggest fear that you have in the business? I had really 2. Knocking on doors. I thought, well, geez, I didn't want to stoop that low in business, and public speaking. So what I went and did was I picked a day. The coldest day was actually the coldest day in January. And I picked a neighborhood far from my neighborhood, and I went and started knocking on doors, selling product. I didn't sell anything that day, but I felt like a multi-millionaire at that moment. I felt like $1 million at that moment because I broke through my fear. The first door, it was very tentative. The second door, after the 4th, 5th, 6th, I had a couple of doors slammed on me. It was incredible. I knew at that moment that I broke through my paradigm. I felt so good about myself. The programming that I had before, I broke through it. I just went ahead and did it. The other fear was public speaking. You know, Dan Cato would share with me, Joe, the person with the pen, person that has the pen will make the most amount of money. I understood that. I knew I wasn't very good at it. I was concerned to go up in front of the room and make a fool of myself. I knew I didn't have the skill sets, but I also knew that I needed to do it. So I was getting some great success in that company, and I got a call from one of the leaders in East Toronto. There was 2 meetings going on in Toronto at that time. The East Toronto meeting was averaging 200 plus people a week. I attended it every week. And this gentleman that ran those meetings, his name is Bill Dietrich, by the way. And Bill asked me, picked up the phone, Joe, I hear you're doing really well. I'd like you to be the host for the presentation. That moment, I couldn't tell him no. I said, sure, Bill, I'll come down, and I'm very excited and honored that you've chosen me to do it. And immediately when I hung up that phone, my amygdala, top of the brain, emotional center of the brain, started firing up. I had all these emotions coming. Joe, you're crazy. You're not good enough. You're going to make a fool of yourself. All these thoughts started coming, and it started to build momentum to the point where it made me sick. I couldn't sleep for a week. Tuesday comes along, the meeting's Wednesday night, and I called Bill up on the day and said, Bill, I'm really sick. I'm sorry I can't make it to the meeting. Meanwhile, he knows that I've been to every meeting from the time I signed up. I was there like in the same chair. I brought guests every week. I was there. I was a fixture in the meeting. And he knew deep down inside that I was most likely lying because I let my fears get to me. That was the worst day of my life, but also was the defining moment in my life where I told myself that I would never let my fears or my programming, now I know it's programming, control me. I made a decision that I'll never let that happen again. I broke through my paradigm. I did it. I did it over and over and over and over and over and over again. I continue to do it. I broke through my paradigm. Yes, there are times I go up, several thousand people in the room, the old Joe pops up once in a while, and I have to cancel that thought and get refocused again. So how do you break through your paradigms? That was the first one. Just go and do it. If you fall in love with your why, if you know exactly what you want, you got to break through those paradigms. You cannot subsist to those paradigms. Second thing you need to do is personal development. You got to immerse yourself into personal development. You have to immerse yourself every day and fall in love in getting better as an individual. Getting better as an individual. Getting better as an individual. Developing your skill sets. Again, based on what I shared with you earlier, the income that you make in our business is in direct proportion and how much value you give back to our prospects, to our organization, to NHT Global, to yourself. You want to make more money, you got to get better as a business person. Bottom line, you got to get better in communication. You got to get better in your emotional IQ. You got to get better in understanding people. You got to get better in breaking through your paradigms. And the only way you're going to do that is by feeding your mind on a consistent basis. One of the master teachers in the world, 2,000 plus years ago, shared it over and over again in his ministry. And all he said was, you plant great seeds and you take care of those seeds every single day, you're going to have a beautiful harvest. But if you don't take care of those seeds, you don't water it every day, you don't take care of it every day. He didn't say every other day or once a week. He said every day the weeds will take control. He wasn't talking about farming, ladies and gentlemen. He was talking about the beautiful mind. The mind that's connected with everything that there is in the universe. So you need to work on yourself on a daily basis to break through the paradigms. I see it all over the place, and this is where it goes back to Nadash Devan. Why she's getting the results is because she went to one of my first seminars. I talked about personal development. I talked about what she needs to do and how to start your day. You know what? She's doing that every single day. She understands her limitations, and she wanted to break through her shyness. She wanted to become a powerful businesswoman, and she's doing that by what I shared with her. It's easy to do. It's easy not to do. So I challenge you here today, ladies and gentlemen. I challenge you right now. If you want a better life, you want to earn more money, you want to impact more people, you want to become an NHT Global ambassador, and you're kind of stuck the last 5 months, the last year, the last 2 years, you haven't built any kind of momentum, you have to go back to what your thoughts are. Your thoughts will reveal you in terms of what your programming is. So your thoughts will determine what you're doing on a daily basis, and what you're doing on a daily basis will determine what your results are. Dan Cattle shared with me In 1993, I went up to him and I asked him, Dan, how do you make more money? He just says, show the business more. And he was right, because we tend to complicate the business. We tend to think, well, this guy's not going to sign up. This guy's not going to sign up. But all I did is I went out and talked to a lot of people, and I got better. My first year in network marketing, I spoke to over 1,000 people. 1,000 people. Out of those 1,000 people, I sponsored less than 10% of them. Less than 10% of them. With that action, made me a better prospector, made me a better business person. I communicated better. I learned how to talk to people on a daily basis. I got better results because I did the work. 1,000 people, I recruited less than 100 people. By the third year, I reached the second highest position in the company because of the work that I did in my first year. I broke through all those presuppositions, which are the programming. So let me share with you one last thing, and I'll end the webinar here tonight. This, again, is going to go up on the first 90 days on Steam Team. Is your dreams, when they're greater than your fears, you can accomplish incredible things. So if your dream is not allowing you to wake up in the morning and get excited, then that's really not your dream. Really not your dream. You gotta find another dream. And if you don't have anything that can't get you excited, I'll tell you that you've been programmed in such a negative way that is stopping you from believing that you can attain your dreams. So I'm going to ask you a question. If I gave you $1 million right now, actually $1 million is not that much money anymore, but $1 million, we can use that. $1 million right now, what would you do with the money? Or if I gave you $1 million and I asked you, all you need to do is go and talk to 1,000 people in the next 6 to 12 months. And when you talk to that 1,000 people and put them through the process, I'll give you the $1 million. I guarantee you, you will do the work. Most everyone will do the work because there is a reward at the end of the rainbow. This is how you have to approach this business. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this webinar has given you kind of an insight in how to break through your paradigms, understanding that these paradigms, that these programmings, these presuppositions block you from getting where you want to go. And I'm going to share with you one last story. And I'm sure Francis Maxwell is not going to mind this. But Francis started to work with me about 5 years ago. And Francis, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was probably a minus 10, but Francis is probably a minus 20 or minus 30. But what separated Francis is their desire or willingness to learn. And I was very attracted to that because I could see her heart. And Francis and I built a really good relationship very quickly. But over the first 3 years, she was showing up with people for me to talk to that were completely 150% broke. Not only just broke, but they were dead broke mentally. So at one time I asked her, and I knew it wasn't a coincidence, I asked her, Francis, just look back at all these people that we talked to. I don't want to offend you, but these people are all dead broke and broke. And you're attracting these type of people. And I guarantee you it's all based on what you're thinking about when it comes to money on a daily basis. So what I'd like you to do, Francis, is go back into your history, go back into your life, and think about some of the programming that you had in your life that is allowing you to attract these type of people in your life. Because you're much better than that. So she sat back. She got back to me after a week. And it was, I can remember the conversation like it was yesterday. She goes, Joe, I think I know what it is. That my dad, growing up, would tell me that girls don't have opinions. That, women are good for a few things. The kitchen, etc. That kind of paradigm. And so Frances, based on how she was brought up, she lived most of her adult life where she would not give out opinions. She didn't feel, strong enough to share her opinions because of that programming, which affect her self-esteem, which affect when it came to business, which affect how she attracted people into her business. So when she knew and was aware of this situation, this programming, it was like the floodgates opened up. She was able to overcome that because awareness is the power. And a few months later, actually a couple of months later, I started seeing great prospects coming. And that's when a few months later, she went from, a four-figure check, a small four-figure check, to earning up to $17,000 in a week. And that was just like a floodgates that happened in a short period of time. Just with one little aspect of her life that affected her life, the awareness and her personal development that she was doing allowed all this block of energy to open up in the floodgates. They're like Niagara Falls right there and then. So I hope that story that I've just shared with you passionately opened the gates to you and understanding what this program is about. And the last thing that you need to do, so I've shared with you 2 ways that you break through, is you got to fall in your love and your why, and you just go and do the actions, even though your mind is holding you back. Second thing is through the personal development to help you break through. But the third thing, and I'll leave you with this thought, is your environment. You're only as good as the people you spend the most time with. And the environment will allow you to think better, think at higher levels, to think at higher conscious levels. And Mr. Cato recently, as most of you know, moved down a number of years ago and bought a place down in Billionaires Row in Florida, in Delray Beach there, in Highland Beach, in southern Florida, southern East Florida. And he said with me, he shared with me a great tip. He says, Joe, I'm a multimillionaire, but I want to get better, so I needed to hang out with billionaires. And that's what Dan's doing. That's why Dan is such a great leader. So ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening. Great things are happening here with NHD Global. Great announcements happening, coming up here in the next few weeks. God bless everyone. Have a great evening, and thanks for attending the webinar here tonight. Bye-bye.